Aloha. Welcome. My name is Jason Schwartz, and this is Jim Kimmel.
Aloha, everybody.
Some of you know Jim Kimmel from seeing him here reading on television the words from the Urantia book, which in fact we're going to be talking about among what we're talking today.
Right.
In fact, I would say, in my opinion, here locally, you, Jim Kimmel, are known as the guy that reads the Urantia book. And what I hope is happening through what we do here is get people like you and me, and you, but you and me, to look at this book and better understand what Jim has been in communication with those that get it for a lot of years, but some people can receive it differently through conversation and dialogue like we do,
Right.
which is great. Thank you, and thank you for joining me here.
Happy to be able to be here.
Well, you know, it's also funny that I'm playing host when in fact we're both hosts, we're both everything. In fact, Jim, I'm going to have you do the editing.
All right.
But some of you who have never seen Jim Kimmel before, when I use the word Jim Kimmel, you think of Jim Kimmel. Jim Kimmel, who's on another network.
Oh, Jimmy Kimmel.
Jimmy Kimmel.
Jimmy.
Oh.
He's more known by Jimmy Kimmel.
Oh, is that what it is? Well, your friends call you Jimmy. In fact, I remember Jimmy's Road. Willie did.
Yeah, for sure.
So, but this is our Jimmy Kimmel. James Kimmel, you're a pleasure to talk to.
At your service.
Some of you have seen some of our other shows, but it's each time we get together, I find I've mentioned we should keep a camera going all the time because I'm afraid to talk to you because we're always talking about something interesting and meaningful that I'd love you, our viewers, to share. So we're looking for people that want to have cameras and help us set up that. That would be really ideal. Wouldn't that be a good thing?
It'd be real nice to have a place where you just, the studio, the cameras would be going all the time, basically.
Yep.
And that way you can pick up on these conversations that are unique and priceless in a lot of ways.
And it's funny because if one had a camera or a couple of cameras with a switcher, even if we had control of the switcher here and we could move them ourselves and zoom and whatever, it's a very modest kind of a thing to someone that knows how to do that stuff.
Yeah, it could be a simple setup, a simple studio setup, you know.
And we could have more than one.
Yeah, for sure.
And we could have one like the other Jimmy Kimmel. Where we just are the talent and we'll let them do whatever they do.
That'd be a lot of fun. Yeah.
You know, one of the talents that I see in you, you've taken, this is the Urantia, man.
No, please.
This is the Urantia book. I like to think this is the Urantia book. Notice, same book, but maybe slightly different presentation. But well worn. See how you've kept it. You probably made lots of marks in this one, huh?
Oh yeah, quite a few. This is my 4th copy.
This one is?
Uh-huh.
Wow. How long have you been reading and studying the Urantia book?
I've been reading and studying this book since the spring of 1969.
Wow. So, 1969, that's when I just graduated high school. So you're a couple of years older than me. You're probably in your 70s, where I'm in my 60s.
I'm 77 now.
Wow. You wear it well.
Thank you kindly.
Yeah. Hey, and we're also in the same club. Mine's a little fresher. You don't have to show yours.
Yeah.
I just recently got a pacemaker, which was quite an experience.
Yeah.
So I am thrilled to be here. We're in the same club there.
Yeah, I've had one on
Take my phone.
for years. I don't remember how long it's been here, but keeps the electrical system going well.
I'm so new. I'm showing you mine. You've had a couple of replacements. See that? Mine is so new that it's still, I haven't even seen it yet, but just one little hello. It's been working seamlessly. It's given me a new regularity, not to be confused with the other regularity. And I'm much more calm, and I find that things around me have less, they faze me less.
Well, that's good. That's good.
You know, I'm not as sensationalized, and my electrical system is
All right.
kind of
More stable.
maybe more stable. And through that process, you know, we did our last shows. I was pre-pacemaker,
Right. Now it's post-pacemaker.
post-pacemaker, as opposed to peacemaker. This book, you know, you're talking since 1969.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that means my college and adult life. So you've been focused on this, and the Rancha book, if no one's seen it, is a book that's, I would say War and Peace. I don't know, how many pages do you think? That's a pretty good sized book.
This is 2,097.
2,097 pages.
Mm-hmm.
And you've often told me that it's got the answer to everything in there. Or, if you will.
Yeah, basically. Absolutely.
So it's really a fully comprehensive...
Well, let me put it this way. I attended Ohio State University, undergraduate school, graduate school, and beyond. So now, having read this book, I can say intelligently, objectively, there's more meaning and value in this book than you can find in any of the best 5-year colleges on earth. Because it's such an epical revelation of knowledge, wisdom, truth. It's predicated on a couple thousand of the highest concepts of God and reality that has come into the minds of people since we've been in an inhabited world.
That's a lot of words.
Yeah. So...
Yeah. Is it a religion?
No, it's a cosmology.
Okay.
It's a cosmology. It's a study of it's the science of the study of the universe.
I see.
And it's the only cosmology worth its salt that integrates God into the cosmology.
What do you mean by cosmology? So, I mean, to me, it's a study of the cosmos.
The cosmos is the universe, right?
So that's what you're talking about.
Right.
This is a study of the universe, quantified in some fashion. Right?
Oh,
I want to say.
Yeah.
So it's not dry like a physics book.
No, not at all.
It's
The physics
a compilation of stories.
The physics in the sections relating to physics and things physical is phenomenal. I mean, it's what today's scientists need most to discover is this book, because it fills in all the missing links in our chain of understanding how things have come to be, especially on the physical level.
Have there been many, I'm sure there's been some, many open discussions of this book and the people that have learned from this book over the years since it was written? I guess I'd say created is not the right word, or how would you describe that whole thing?
Well, one thing's for sure, the leadership of the world, the leadership of our country, be it political or religious or educational, they haven't embraced this as they should have.
Okay.
This book is exactly proof of what that one institute they're looking for, SETI, Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence. This book is proof of extraterrestrial intelligence supreme.
Well,
And they wouldn't have to spend all the money wasting their time when they could be finding out what the cosmos is all about and how it came to be, and begin integrating themselves with the whole as a part in an infinite reality.
So, that's an interesting thing, because what you just said is external exploration becomes internal exploration. Understand in a way how we fit into a larger picture, and more fully explore who and what we are and our role in the universe.
Well, our role has to do with the purpose of the Prince of Peace for one thing, and the will of God for another. So these spiritual causes and purposes, that's what we're here for. As what the world needs most to know right now is men are the sons of God, and through faith they can actually realize and daily experience this ennobling truth. It's our basic cosmic identity.
In discovery, you mean not only say, aha, but physically and in every way embrace and embody that truth to manifest or be aware of the manifestation of heaven.
Yeah, well,
On earth,
in heaven
through us.
Heaven is everywhere God is. Would you agree?
Yeah.
And God is within each person on this planet. So the kingdom of heaven is within each person.
Does everyone believe that everyone has God in them, you think?
Do you recognize by faith you can recognize the will of God within you. And by faith you can recognize the spirit of truth within you. And these two spirits are fundamental to our existence and our progressive evolutionary development as souls. Without the spirit of the will of God within us, there would be no soul. Until we make our very first moral decision, we do not have the presence of the will of God within us. We have the presence of the Prince of Peace within us, the Spirit of Truth, and we have all the mind spirits. But the will of God comes only in response to the first moral choice made by each person.
Is that something you learned through the book, or just you
Yeah.
came to conclude?
No, this is from the book.
Okay, so there are people that embrace their religion, and sometimes, they read all kinds of books, but they don't understand the cosmology and how it might affect their religion.
Well, it unifies science, philosophy, and truth. It's unified.
So if this was on the bestseller list and people would look and read it, or however they're giving it away, but selling it, supporting it,
Yeah.
This has a lot in it from what I discover constantly with you. They're reading some, but it's a lot of reading, and the commitment to read it is a big one. If someone said they read it cover to cover, front to back, I take my hat off. I mean, it's so much that I've been trying to digest. Each paper I read, or a portion of a paper, is so, I think of it like an encyclopedic outline, that it bursts of flavor.
No doubt about it.
It talks about Jesus. I always thought to myself, Christians that love Jesus would probably really appreciate this book. And yet, we've discussed before, and some of them don't. Some of them somehow, they don't even know what this is, but before they even look at it, they're afraid to touch a book that's going to talk about something larger than this world.
They've been taught to believe that anything that goes beyond the Bible is verboten.
When it goes beyond, they read fiction and nonfiction alike. What makes this any different than that to them? I don't know.
This book, if they start reading this book, they'll find out that they've been wrong in a lot of their beliefs.
I see.
There's a lot of Santa Claus stories out there that people believe to be true. And Christianity has a house full of them.
And they have probably a house full of things that are true, right? Mixed in.
Yeah, it's a mix. It's a mixture of true and false information.
Just like the Jews who say, nah, the Messiah didn't come. We have a mixed group where the Islams have a different, right? The Muslims have a different view. Everyone's got a different view, but so
it's what you believe. See, it's not what you know. It's what you believe that determines conduct and dominates personal performances.
Well, just in that, it's that, what you just said, I was going to elaborate before you said it. It's not only what you believe, but it's what actions you take in a physical world that exhibit the things that you embrace and believe. There's a gap. Well, what did we call that gap earlier? I forgot what words we even used. There's a people read, and someone just say, "Well, I just Christians on Sunday, but during the week they sin and they come back on Sunday and get forgiven again."
Inconsistencies there.
Yeah, hypocrisy is a big factor here in our world.
Well, the truth about Christianity and the truth about Jesus is what the Christians really need to become aware of.
There's a lot about Jesus in here, right?
His entire life and all of his teachings. Part 4 of this book is the life and teachings of Jesus. So it goes from before he was born all the way up through his life to the completion of it. So
I learned from you something that I think needs some exploration. You'll tell me how you want to approach it. When you say to the completion of his life, when you shared about the difference of when Jesus was seen by his disciples after
the resurrection.
Resurrection. That, yes, that was Jesus. And how that needs to be amplified or understood in a bigger reference.
Well, the bigger reference has to do with just the factuality of the experience of the situation. I mean, Jesus is typical of any man or woman on this planet. He made his very first free will moral choice. God sent him a thought adjuster. A thought adjuster is the presence of the will of God within you. So, as soon as Jesus made his very first free will moral decision, God sent him this fragment of his own will, the thought adjuster, to live to indwell his mind. And in this mind, he sired the soul that Jesus evolved choice by choice through his physical life. Now, when we die physically, ordinarily, we go from one world to another where we resurrect and we find ourselves in a whole new form. Our soul is like the womb. Our soul is like the embryo of ourself in the womb of our mind. We're the mother, God's the father. So you have the fatherhood of God and the motherhood of man working together, so to speak. And when Jesus died on the cross, his physical body died. His physical body did not resurrect. What resurrected was his morancha. His superphysical form is made of material known as morancha energy. Morancha energy is like between physical and spiritual.
So, for example, a morancha body could pick up a cup. A morancha body could be sensed and feel and seen much like an earthly body with differences.
Well, Jesus was made visible to the people of his day after his resurrection. There are super physical personalities, power creatures that have to do with transmitting and transforming energy. And they had a lot to do with making it possible for physical people to see with their physical eyes the superphysical form of Jesus.
Okay.
So, what Jesus went through after his life for the first, until 40 days, when he finally departed the planet, and that period of time, he made 18 contacts with believers that had been part of his earth experience.
I see.
So, what this part 4 consists of 77 chapters, 77 papers that deal with the life and teachings of Jesus. And this group of papers was sponsored by a commission of 12 Urantia midwayers acting under the supervision of a Melchizedek revelatory director. The basis of this narrative was supplied by a secondary midwayer who was one time assigned to the superhuman watch care of the Apostle Andrew.
There you go, that's a mouthful. So that means there are 3 parts before they get to here.
Right.
And that so that this whole thing about Jesus has something, that's why I guess you call it a cosmology. Because you're dealing with a larger universe than the one that's here, where the teachings of Jesus have another component. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, and well, part 2 of this book deals with the local universe.
The local universe.
The local universe. Part 2. 25 chapters dealing with the local universe. And this paper is sponsored by, or this section is sponsored by a Nebadon Corps of local universe personalities acting by authority of Gabriel of Salvington.
Now, as I'm reading and seeing the difference, the other one had a name of someone, Melchizedek. And here you talk about Nebadon. And Nebadon, if you go back to part 1, you discover is a universe, a super universe.
The local universe.
Nebadon is the local universe.
It's one of 100,000 local universes that make up the super universe of Orvanton.
Okay, now, just that alone is enough. If all you science fiction readers are out there and you wonder where all these ideas came from, sounds like they've been floating. There may be memories more than just creation, right? from the ethers. Okay. So Orvanton was the larger concept of universes.
It's like the whole Milky Way galactic star system.
Okay.
Here's a diagram, if this can be seen. I don't know how this shows.
Well, we'll show it like this. They can always get a copy.
And starting with the geographic center of infinity, this is paradise. And as you go outward from paradise, there's a central universe here of 1 billion perfect worlds. And then these are dark gravity bodies that enshroud this central and eternal universe. And out here's this whole paradise, eternal universe with 7 super universes going around it. And one of these is ours, the whole Milky Way galactic star system. So then over on this panel, you have the center of infinity and the 7 super universes, and then 4 outer space levels that are completely uninhabited. And there are like millions of galaxies in process of formation and development relative to future occupation.
Pretty spectacular stuff. So this is in the center of this, which is in the center of this, which is in the center of this.
Mm-hmm.
And let's go all the way back.
This is the geographic center of infinity.
The geographic center of infinity.
Perfect place to be if you were God.
Where would that be?
At the geographic center of infinity.
Where is that? Is there a physical place that we would understand?
Well, it's inward. You can look inward through the Orion Nebula, looking through the Orion Nebula inward toward the Milky Way galaxy, and then out the other side, you're looking toward paradise. As the astronomers look toward paradise with their telescopes, they see a great big black hole. They call it the I forget what they call it. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
But it's these dark gravity bodies that prevent anybody from these outer universes. You can't look, you can't see paradise, you can't see the central universe because of all these dark gravity bodies that are rotating around this central creation and have been forever. So,
Wow. Big concepts. So now, that, you know, we're exploring the whole region here. I would say if I was someone of any religion, I would want to get this book and read it. You know, I've been reading some, but it is so much for me. I guess that's why you were reading it to people. It was sort of like a visual audio book. But
Yeah.
I like ours because I can. Today I'm talking a little bit more, but I can ask questions because there's so much to digest, and you've been digesting for so long. Your gift of being able to hear a question and put your finger on an answer has been really something.
Yeah. Well, it has most of the answers to anybody's questions that they've ever pondered having to do with how things have come to be the way they are, whether it's in the universe or on this planet. This planet's history is part 3 of this book, which is fabulous. To know the facts of our history and the truth of everything that was involved for the last million years is truly.
And this information, some people say, yeah, there's a book. Was it just some science fiction writer like L. Ron Hubbard? And you say, wait a minute. You know, that's not even, you know, in the same that was a religion, all that goes with everything, right? So this isn't a religion. Really not challenging any religions.
This book,
are we? We're bringing truth.
Yeah, there's no challenge. It's just a matter of here's the facts and here's the truths of the universe. Take it or leave it. It's a gift from God.
And yeah,
but its simplest, it's this is nothing less than a gift from God. Really, literally.
Has it been
No
explored
question
much since it was in what time?
Well, a lot of people are reading it all around the world in a lot of different languages, so it's not as though it hasn't had an impact. Let's say it just hasn't had a major impact in face of the reality of what's going on in the world and what has been going on for the last 100 and some years.
So this book is 100 years old? Less.
Well, it came into existence. This book came into existence, is in my estimation, as part of the divinity response, the divine response to the factual gathering of the Jewish leaders of the world in Basel, Switzerland, in the end of August 1897. That Jewish Congress established a foundation for development from that point that had to do with getting power and control over everything and everybody on earth, basically.
When you say Jewish, now I know we've talked a little about the words Jewish versus Zionist, but it was called a Jewish Congress, was it?
I think so. Yeah, it was a Jewish Congress, and this was when they created the World Zionist Organization, or the Zionist Organization of the World.
Although some, I know, you know, am I right? Some of them were not Jews.
Exactly.
Okay, so.
Yeah.
So it's sometimes that cross, they use the word Zionist, everyone suddenly, you know, their back hairs start standing up because they know something's going on there. And some are pro-Zionist, some aren't, but that's not our issue.
There's probably more non-Jewish Zionists than there are Jewish Zionists. There's a great number of Jewish Orthodox that are very anti-Zionist.
Wow.
So
that's a different story for a different day. I'm sure some of you will have comments and want to have conversations on that.
But the nice thing about this book is between Part 3, the history of our world, and Part 4, the life and teachings of Jesus, any and all individuals, be they Jewish or not, can come to know the truth about themselves to the max, especially the Jewish people and how they came to consider themselves as the chosen people.
Well,
The chosen people doctrine is the problem we have in today's world. Is the supreme ideological conflict of our day and age has to do with the belief of a small group of people that they have been chosen by God to rule the world and its natural resources and the people and everybody. So it's a very
rule the world. Those are interesting words.
yeah.
Rule.
Yeah.
That means set the policy.
Power and control over the people, the nations, and the natural resources of the world.
There are those that are doing
Well,
their darndest right now.
They've been working up to it for some time. Like the United Nations is the most recent evolutionary development that has to do with getting to where they want to get, which has to do with a whole new world order, with them in charge of everything and everybody, basically. George Bush and his friends talk about it. They're all part of it.
George Little one or middle or
Both. Both.
and Prescott Bush from Second World War.
Prescott, big time. Yeah, he was a Nazi collaborator and in charge of a bank that was busted by J. Edgar Hoover for trading with the enemy. J. Edgar Hoover, by the way, is where I learned what the word Soviet means.
How's that?
I was reading J. Edgar Hoover's book called Masters of Deceit.
Wow.
He wrote it in 1958 or 59. Anyhow, he talks about the word Soviet means government by council or commission. Nobody's elected. Everybody's appointed by somebody or some group.
Or some group.
Yeah.
So the United Soviet Socialist Republics means United Appointed Socialist Republic.
The Soviet Socialist Republic was ruled by commissions and what do you call
Council?
councils and commissions.
So the Soviet Union means an appointed group to run this group.
Right. Wow. Yeah. That's the style. The word Soviet means government by council or commission, according to J. Edgar Hoover.
Well, but again, we have to define terms.
And
he seems to have set some policy here.
His book was revealing, in his book Masters of Deceit, he reveals how the communists have taken over America from within. and he said through infiltration, agitation, and mass deceit, they've taken over. But what J. Edgar Hoover either knew or didn't know, I don't know what the fact is on this particular thing, but the word communist and Zionist are two sides of a coin. And Zionism is for the elites, communism is for the masses.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So
these discussions lead in such different and interesting, hopefully provocative, which means you'll take a look at the Urantia book, but you'll also be taking a look at all kinds of things. I mean,
yourself and your government for starters, because you know, I didn't discover I was on the wrong side for a long time. I mean, I used to work for the U.S. government. I had the highest level of security clearances you can have. And I didn't know I was working for the wrong side until it was, I couldn't avoid it any further. It was slapping me in the face. Everything that we discovered and made factual, they classified it and covered it up and kept on going the wrong way and doing the wrong thing. So that's when I got away from the U.S. government, started teaching high school. And
Was that before book?
before the book?
BB, before book.
I was still an atheist. I was a scientific atheist. You know,
Wow.
yeah.
A scientific atheist, which means you didn't believe there was a supreme being?
I didn't believe there was a God.
Okay.
And I didn't know I loved God, even though I didn't believe in Him. Because the word God had been so misrepresented to me by others that I grew up around, that I said, oh, well, if they're godlike, I don't want to be godlike. Maybe there is no God. Maybe they're just being mean and bad and scaring all of us kids with all these stories about the last days and the end of the world.
How did you start getting into the book? Did you jump in at a point of interest from the table of contents? You start from the beginning? I've tried starting at the beginning, and
I first got started in this book. There's a paper here titled Energy, Mind, and Matter.
Energy, Mind, and Matter. Well, I tell you, for 2,097 pages, you flip through it like you know where you're going. That's good.
This paper on energy, mind, and matter is just phenomenal. It just happened to be the
Paper 42. Okay.
energy, mind, and matter. It says the foundation of the universe is material in the sense that energy is the basis of all existence, and pure energy is controlled by the universal Father. Force, energy, is the one thing which stands as an everlasting monument demonstrating and proving the existence and presence of the universal absolute. This vast stream of energy proceeding from the paradise presences has never lapsed, never failed. There has never been a break in the infinite upholding. The manipulation of universe energy is ever in accordance with the personal will and the all-wise mandates of the universal Father. This personal control of manifested power and circulating energy is modified by the coordinate acts and decisions of the eternal Son, as well as by the united purposes of the Son and the Father, executed by the conjoint actor. These divine beings act personally and as individuals. They also function in the persons and powers of an almost unlimited number of subordinates, each variously expressive of the eternal and divine purpose in the universe of universes. But these functional and provisional modifications or transmutations of divine power in no way lessen the truth of the statement that all force energy is under the ultimate control of a personal God resident at the center of all things.
Wow. So, were you led there? I mean, as a, like you said, as a self-proclaimed scientist, atheist, that basically says, okay, there is a force in the universe that comes from here.
Yeah.
Wow. How did you get to there? That was...
Well,
You have a
what
teacher?
got me ready for this book as an atheist who's not believing in God?
That's why I say it.
I didn't know I was searching for God. I didn't know that God was the object of my
Affection.
right,
Yeah.
attention.
Yeah.
So the spirits of God within me had to lead me all through the years of atheism and get me educated with the facts of science and understanding basic physical reality. So after 10 years on the nuclear weapons testing frontier, I had a very profound understanding of physical energy and nuclear reality and so forth. So by the time I got to teach in high school and took my students over to Berkeley to go to the Lawrence Laboratory, Lawrence Livermore Laboratory on the campus, they had a Bevatron there that would spin electrons around almost at the velocity of the speed of light. and then slam them into a pool of protons, which is what liquid hydrogen is. And then they would photograph these reactions that take place in an electromagnetic field. And what you would observe was particles spinning off in a negative direction, some going in a positive direction, and some just going straight out. So these subatomic particles making up the integral atom, the unified atom, were all positively, neutrally, or negatively charged particles of energy. So, when I was teaching in high school, I was going through a process of sharing everything I had learned from my years of education with my students. And the last thing I was sharing with my students was about Einstein's unified field theory. That Einstein postulated that, well, he spent the last 17 years of his life looking for a mathematical expression that would explain the existence of everything to everyone, everywhere, forevermore. So it's also been sometimes called the theory of everything. But the unified field theory went beyond physics, and it embraces all of the realities of the universe that we reside in. So like, I didn't realize that I was just on the threshold of taking my high school classes to the conclusion that Einstein was looking for. So there was a hiatus in my life from November until February of '69, when I was writing up a paper on the experience of teaching these 5 classes of students. Mm-hmm. And I got to where I was at with my students and kept on going. And shortly after that, I was at a point where I was trying to unify all the physical reality, all the intellectual reality, all the spiritual or purposeful reality, and all the personal reality into one equation. So the idea was, I recognized there were 4 dimensions of reality that were fundamental to what makes up the universe. And so, but what do those 4 infinite dimensions look like on the absolute level? Where they come from? Where did they come from? What, so I didn't know they were all coming from God. I didn't really understand that. Well, as an atheist, I wasn't looking for God.
Right.
And so, like, the idea of you got to go through the Son to get to the Father, I didn't know about that. And I was stuck on the surface of my mind. I'm looking for the final expression of what these dimensions would look like when it was one, unified. So a few days later, a friend knocks on the door. Just happened to be a mathematician working in the research department for IBM, and we were good friends, and we rolled up a joint and smoked it and started talking story, and I was showing him all my writings and research and the work where I'd gone and where I was at and what I was and everything, and scratched his head a little bit, and he reached over and got a pen and wrote down 1 equals infinity, God. And that was a revelation of the Spirit of truth to him.
Right, to deliver
to
to him.
give to me. So it was coming from him through the Spirit, having to do with our mutual recognition of the Father deeper within us. That's when I went, wham, There is a God. Holy shit, man.
Wow.
All this time I've been wrong. And my head was like a slot machine from Vegas paying off. For a couple of weeks, it just seemed like on and on and on. Wow. So like, one of my friends happened to be visiting, and he said, "Hey man, listen to this thought." And he had just done a copy of the Urantia book. And he shared some thought with me from this paper on energy, mind, and matter.
Right.
And that's when I said, wow, what's going on here? How could that be in print? It's too new, too true. So that's basically how I
And then you just sort of started reading.
From there I went to the index.
Okay.
The index.
It's an exhausting index.
Yeah.
It's a lot of different things.
There's the titles of 196 papers here.
Wow. Each one has so much juice in them, I see.
Yeah, big time.
Right.
The central, the first part of the book, part one, has 31 papers. And that deals with God and paradise and the center of everything and where it all come from, how and so forth. And then the local universe is where we are in the Milky Way galactic system. And this is where we first get acquainted with the fact that Jesus, before Jesus was Jesus, he was the local universe creator of our universe. And his experience of life on our world as a human being was the last of 7 bestowals of the Creator in the likeness of the creature. So Jesus was the incarnation of the sovereign Creator of our universe.
When you say 7 bestowals, meaning there are Jesus plus 6 in a larger super universe.
The creators of the local universes acquire their sovereignty as a consequence of going through a 7-fold bestowal experience in the likeness of the creatures of their universe, such as angels, Melchizedeks, Lenonondex.
These are big words to a little guy like me.
Yeah.
I imagine some of you understand this, but I can see, I can say more that I'm fascinated. I think it's really very exciting. It's almost like a Harry Potter series that's way bigger than Harry Potter.
Yeah, it's better than the best science, better than the best science fiction.
Yeah, it's
Way better.
extraordinary.
So anyhow, part two
Two is
where we find out about how our local universe came into existence. It takes us back. Our creator of our universe, who's known as Michael of Nebadon. Nebadon is the name of our universe. So Michael of Nebadon is the Michael son who created the universe of Nebadon.
who, in fact, in earthly incarnation is Jesus.
Yeah, exactly. He came to occupy the region which is now his universe about 400 billion years ago.
A couple of years.
And as a consequence, we have now in his universe a little over 3.5 million inhabited worlds. 10 million is the final number of most local universe worlds.
There's a lot to get here, to grok here. And then, and so there are 3.5 million inhabited worlds, is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
And 10 million is the most in a universe?
In the local universe, when they're fully matured and developed.
So these are interesting things, but as I'm looking in the world and watching, I can see that really has a lot of juice. What juices me about what I see is that here in our local universe, where there are many people that declared wisdom and talk about Messiah, way to God in our universe.
Okay.
To understand there are many universes, and to put ourselves and understand or even begin to fathom that things are larger than just our universe, larger than just here, we are the only. And to embrace with the humility, you know, our role in a much larger, bigger program, and then to see some of the things that happen in this little universe where some people, groups, if you will, trying to, some effectively, control through resources and everything. All this kind of opens a door to us looking at our own worlds in a much more cooperative, drop the veils of different religions and different colors.
Well, given all the facts, it's pretty easy to understand everything.
Well, you're a very gifted and coming from a very, oh yes, I was a this and I was by a nuclear physicist. Clearly, it's most interesting. It sounds it's a foundation for me to know, but I would say out there, if you're a nuclear physicist, please raise your hand. There isn't that many.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't a nuclear physicist.
Oh, okay.
Per se. I was an ecologist.
Wow.
I was an ecologist functioning on the frontier of nuclear weapons and reactor testing.
Wow.
In the 50s and 60s.
Wow. So you were there to better understand it as it relates to the ecology, which I understand to be the world's balance piece.
Well, the word ecology was pretty much unknown in 1955 when my advisor at Ohio State was called to Washington to testify before Congress as to the ecological effects of nuclear weapons testing on the environment.
Eco meaning, I say it's interesting, logical, I guess.
Ecological. The word ecology comes from a Greek word, O-I-K-O-S, oikos. Oikos means home.
Oh.
So ecology is the study of home, and our home is this planet.
Oh, I see. Wow.
Everything is interrelated, dynamically interdependent. The part affects the whole, so forth and so on. Everything is relative to and matters of free will choice in an environment of plenty. Because we're sons of God and we deserve all we need because that's the way it is. For a father who loves his sons,
And daughters.
What could be better than, yeah, exactly.
Well, it's really, when you say things like, father who loves his sons and daughters, talk about an ecological based on our home.
Mm-hmm.
It's such an opportunity for all of us to recognize that thing of, you talked about plenty. There's plenty for all. The idea of hoarding and storing and us and them and all that goes with all of that is such a powerful thing. You know what I'd like to do, if it's okay with you?
Sure.
Because I know we've been running a while. I think we should say goodbye and then come back and do another show and jump in right where you are, but start another show. Would that work for you?
Sure, that sounds good to me.
And in that show, I may do a quick little intro just so you know where we're on in the same page. But because these shows are very different and unique. There's so much here. We could speak, like I say, we need cameras on us. So all of you are ready to help us. We're ready for that help.
The ongoing revelation
Yeah.
of Jason and Jim.
Jason and Jim. Jimmy Kimmel.
Well, that's what this book is. This book is an epical revelation. And epical revelations don't come very often. Usually, this comes very shortly after the last epical revelation. Jesus was the last epical revelation to our world.
And a couple of thousand years is not much considering.
Not much at all. So he made this possible because he knows what we need to find out in order to understand how things are going to be the way it is on this planet and in the universe, and on the highest levels of spiritual reality.
Well, we will be back here and see you again. I'm Jason, and this is Jim.
Much aloha.
It's been good to have you, Jim. Thank you.
Pleasure, brother.
Thank you all for joining us. We'll see you next time.
Very good.
Aloha.
Aloha.